Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. A woman just got a master's degree from Stanford at the age of 105. Tone, what are you going to be doing at that age?
Tony Kornheiser, how would I know? That's still 6 or 7 years away. I guess I'd probably be hitting the driver 12 to 15 yards at that point.
Right down the middle. Right down the middle, though.
Yeah, right down the middle, and on a real short par 3, I could probably get there in 8. Probably an 8. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Stanley Cup pressure, a salary cap for quarterbacks, and LeBron's change of heart. But we begin today with the next head coach of the Lakers, J.J. Redick. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reports that the team offered Redick a 4-year deal this morning, and Redick accepted. Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka is said to be sold on Redick's basketball IQ and his ability to connect with players. The team's next step is reportedly to surround him with an elite coaching staff. Wilbon, what kind of expectations does Redick walk into?
Ooh, he walks into the most unrealistic pressures in the NBA. L.A., where I've spent a lot of time in the last 20 years, Tony, there are more unrealistic expectations surrounding the Lakers than any team, I think, in North America. And I know that includes the Yankees, that includes the Red Sox, but those expectations have just popped up in the last 20 years. I can't think of another franchise where they think they're going to win every year no matter how their team is. And they have won one in the last, 10 or so, 15 or so, since the last Kobe-led championship. They've won one, and that was in the bubble. But they're the most arrogant fan base, the most unrealistic fan base. And again, I'm including a lot of teams and a lot of sports in that mix. And J.J. Redick has no experience as a coach. He has experience. He's played. He played on several teams. He played in the NBA Finals maybe once. I mean, J.J. Redick knows his way around. He's a very, very, very smart guy. But you know what? There have been some veteran coaches who got run out of town like Darvin Ham just did, who got to a conference finals the previous year. They don't remember what happened this morning, much less a year ago. So he walks into the lion's den. He does.
All right. So let me talk for a little bit about this, because I think this is a very good hire. And I've sat on this show with you. I thought it was a good hire 3 weeks ago when it was first reported. And I sat on the show with you and I said it would be a better hire than Danny Hurley. Because J.J. Redick is of the NBA recently.
Yes.
J.J. Redick has probably played with and against everybody on this team at one point or another. J.J. Redick was coached by Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, who coached LeBron James in the Olympic Games. Redick's a smart guy. I'm sure he picked up one or two things from Krzyzewski, and more importantly, this LeBron connection. He knows LeBron well. He works with LeBron. He's pals with LeBron, and here's the key sentence: he is not a threat to LeBron. The Lakers are not a good team. He is not going to make them worse. He's not. And if he can calm the waters, you mentioned Darvin Ham, if he can calm the waters that were roiled by Anthony Davis and LeBron James, then he's got a chance. I think he is a better hire, for example, than Monty Williams, because I think Monty Williams, where he goes next, going to have a chip on his shoulder because of all the stuff that just happened to him in Detroit. That could cause friction at some place. If you have friction with LeBron, it's very, very dangerous. There's not going to be any friction with J.J. Redick. Now, Mike, I don't know if he can coach, but I know this. Coaching in the NBA is not like coaching in college or high school. These players, all the players are good. You just put them in a comfortable situation and trying to get the best out of them.
Tony, I agree with all that, except the part that I would, have him ahead of Monty. I wouldn't. And Monty has that connection, as you talk about J.J. and LeBron having, he has it with Anthony Davis, or seems to. I'm not going there. Monty Williams is really respected not just on the sideline, but also in locker rooms, because Monty played in the league. And, like Redick played in the league. I'm not going there. I think that Monty would have been a terrific hire, but I don't think the Lakers are going anywhere anyway. Not in that Western Conference at this point. Not with J.J. Redick. And J.J. Redick is everything you said. But you know what? Red Auerbach ain't beating all those teams in the West with that lineup, that roster, given what he's going against with Denver, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Dallas. The Lakers they're not on that level. Not to me. Stanley Cup final resumes with Game 6 tomorrow night in Edmonton. which means everyone involved has an extra night to think. The Panthers hold a 3-2 lead in games, but the Oilers have won the last two as Connor McDavid has soared. And Florida goalie Sergei Bobrovsky has struggled. So, Tone, who's facing more pressure to deliver tonight, Bob or McDavid?
If you take the wider view here, the answer is McDavid, because so many people have anointed him as the best player in the NHL and maybe as good or even better than Wayne Gretzky. I talked to a hockey broadcaster last night who said this all-around game is actually better than Wayne Gretzky's. But he has no rings, Mike, and Gretzky has 4 rings. And so you can't make that case if the guy has no rings. So from a historical point of view, there's more pressure on McDavid. But I think from a narrow point of view, there's much more pressure on Bobrovsky, because goalies are the most important people. In the first 2 games, he was a brick wall. He was winning this thing by himself. And then he gave up 2 late in game 3. Then he gave up 5 in game 4 and had to be yanked. Then he gave up 4 in game 5. And now, Mike, it looks like Edmonton is in this thing because of Bobrovsky. So what I'm going to say in the short term right now is Bobrovsky's reputation is more on the line than McDavid's.
See, Tone, I'm going to say the pressure's on McDavid even now, because he can be eliminated. Bobrovsky can't be eliminated tomorrow night. He can be pushed into a game 7 if he and the Panthers, lose tomorrow night. But that's not the ultimate pressure. The pressure is to keep your season alive, and you outlined it. If McDavid is going to live up to these expectations, and by the way, I know who you talk to, and he knows more. He's forgotten more about hockey over breakfast than I will ever know. But I ain't ever comparing anybody to Wayne Gretzky favorably. And you know how Bob Ryan and I go back and forth on that when he tries to mention the name Bobby Orr. No, and by the way, no. But that doesn't matter. In this discussion we're having now, Connor McDavid's got to win to keep his season alive. He can't win number 1 unless he wins tomorrow night.
That's right.
So the pressure's still hitting Tony. He has been a stone cold gangster the last 2 games. He has been.
So here's what people have to know. He's the first guy ever in back-to-back games in a Stanley Cup final to get 4 points in both games. He already has broken the career record for a single season playoffs in assists. He's got 34. He's got 34 in 23 games. He's got 42 points. The only 2 people who's ever had more points are Lemieux had 44 and Gretzky had 47. And if he gets to a game 7, Mike, he's got a chance to go ahead of him.
He could.
We move now.
Yeah, could.
Yeah, we move now to a story by Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network that some owners are talking amongst themselves about trying to get a separate salary cap just for quarterbacks. There's a fear that as quarterback salaries rise dramatically, they will take up too much of the whole cap. Pelissero talked about trying to adopt the NBA model of max and supermax restrictions on quarterbacks. Wilbon, do you expect more owners to get?
Owners have more power than all 3 other sports combined. So when they want something, and this is something I think they will want, Tony, but there's an alternative. And I'm sure this is not an original idea by me, but you could have a quarterback salary set aside, and then you could deal with the cap for the rest of the team, which would also work. And I think something in the middle there may be proposed.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're an owner and you want to go after it and build a roster all the time that can threaten to win all the time, you're going to need to set aside your quarterback. And the owners in that sport, Tone, they get what they want more often than not, or some version of it.
Yes.
And I think they will line up behind this. But there's a way to both pay quarterbacks and keep your roster intact if you want to figure that out.
I'll tell you one owner who would like this passed by 8 o'clock tonight, and that's Jerry Jones, because he don't want to pay Dak Prescott any more money.
Yeah.
So what the owners are saying here basically is they're saying to Roger Goodell and the rest of the league, please rescue us from our profligate spending. We put ourselves in this jam, and now we need you to throw us a lifeline. I know that a lot of people think that quarterbacks wouldn't like this, but that's not necessarily true. If the cap is high enough, quarterbacks are going to be happy. I'll tell you some quarterbacks who don't care about it. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, who just got one, Trevor Lawrence, because they got all the money in the world. What interests me is and I'll tell you who does care about it, Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud. They're going to care about it because they didn't get paid yet. What interests me, Mike, is the other group of players, all the other players, like the centers and the pass rushers and the wide receivers, because maybe they think, well, if the quarterbacks are on a separate level, we're going to get some trickle down. We're going to get some more money. And I'm also interested, Mike, in what the NFLPA would think, because the NFLPA has to protect most of the players, not just the elite players. I wonder what their position would be. I wonder. It's interesting to me. Let's take a break. Coming up, Rich Paul says LeBron is off this idea of having to play with Bronny, and that's a quote. What's the word for that?
Is about time a word? And what should we expect at tonight's Negro League tribute game at Rickwood Field in Alabama?
I'm not knocking Monty Williams. I like him a lot. I think J.J. Redick's best for that team. Because that team's not going anywhere. They're not going.
The new.
I've changed into my doctor's coat, which means it's time to put on a clinic. And what's the word? What's first?
It's blank that Rich Paul says LeBron is, quote, off this idea of having to play with Bronny, end quote.
It's confusing. Wait a second. I thought LeBron wanted to play with his son. He said that in 2022. Now, he walked it back. I understand that. But if he didn't want to play with his son, why did his son declare for the NBA draft? I mean, let's be fair. He averaged 5 points a game last year at USC. If LeBron didn't want to play with his son, why is Rich Paul limiting the teams who can try the kid out to the Lakers, where LeBron works now, and to Phoenix, where it is thought that LeBron could go next? I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. I don't like this story. As a dad, it makes me uneasy because I am not certain it's going to end well for father and son.
As a dad, it makes me damn comfortable because you and I know he doesn't want to be around his father because we've already had teenage sons, or I still got one. Okay, so the word is wise. He's not coming here to Phoenix. It's not going to happen. He's not going to go to the Lakers because LeBron is finally realizing wisely that his kid, like every other young man in the history of God's earth, doesn't want to be around his father as a teenager. It was always the dumbest thing because we all as fathers are stupid until our sons go, what? They wanted to go to work with us at 5 and 7 and 9. My son wanted to come to the studio at 11. How many times you seen him at the studio in the last 5 years? He wants nothing to do with me until they get old enough
He's there
to
less
get some
than
perks.
I am.
Yes, that's right. Until they can get some perks. Bronny wants some perks. His father ought to convey them. I don't care if you're a father who puts an imaginary crown on your head. Your boy doesn't want to be with you. Wise up.
Until they get to be in their 30s. Trust me on that. What's next?
Yeah, need a car.
Tonight's Negro Leagues tribute game at Rickwood Field should be blank.
My word is poignant. It is going to be a celebration and a memorial, but a celebration of the career of Willie Mays, who played in this field, who got his first professional hit in this particular field. Everybody was hoping he would be there in person. Instead, he's going to be there in spirit, and it's all going to be about him. I will say this, Mike. I expect everybody to wear the number 24 tonight. I expect the Fox crew at this game to talk about Willie Mays all throughout the game. The Giants are playing in this game. I expect them to interview Giants about Willie Mays. I expect them to have special guests, and one of them wouldn't surprise me if it was Barry Bonds. It really wouldn't. I think that this is going to be an homage to Willie Mays, and I think there are going to be some tears, which is why I use the word poignant.
Tony, absolutely agree. Amen to all of that. I'm going to use the word mandatory. And I'm thinking about the generations of younger players and younger people who may follow some baseball, but they know Willie Mays' name because their parents or grandparents familiarized them, but they don't really know. Tonight you can really know. And I'm going to depart a little bit because I agree with everything you just said about the tribute part to Willie Mays. But there are other players, many great ones. Maybe they can hear the name Josh Gibson and Page and Cool Papa Bell and even the people who played in both and straddled the line like Willie Mays and Henry Aaron, who came out of the Negro Leagues and played in Major League Baseball. Because, Tony, here's the deal. To me, the most important thing. The players who came out of the Negro Leagues at the end of them, and played in the majors, they weren't just successful in Major League Baseball, they dominated Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about, Jackie Robinson, whether we're talking about Satchel Paige, they dominated. If Satchel Paige pitched, he was in his 50s. So people need to know something about history. Get off TikTok for the night. This is mandatory. Don't watch the clips. Watch the program if your attention spans will allow.
That's the final word. Let's take one last break, but still to come, Lionel Messi gets set to open the Copa America with Argentina tonight.
And Charlie Woods plays his way into a tournament that his old man won 3 times.
I always think of people like Monty Irvin because, again, Mike, I was a Giants fan. And Monty Irvin was one of the people that played on the Giants. Yeah.
That's a great example, Tony.
Happy time, people. Happy belated 46th birthday, Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk.
This was yesterday, but we felt in light of Dallas's terrible showing in the NBA Finals that we would pass for a day. Everyone likes to say that Luka Doncic can become one of the all-time greats. Dirk Nowitzki actually is one of the all-time greats. He was the best player on the only Dallas team to win an NBA title. That was in 2011. It was Nowitzki's second trip to the finals. Over the course of his career, Nowitzki averaged 20.7 points, 7.5 rebounds, and he shot 47.1% from the field. He was the 9th overall pick in the 1998 draft, and he exceeded all expectations. He's in the Hall of Fame and was the Finals MVP in that championship season.
Quick story, Tony. After the Barcelona Dream Team summer, Charles Barkley, we're out here in the desert, I don't know, talking or playing golf or something. And Charles says, hey, I got to tell you about this German kid. This kid I saw in Germany, he's like 16, and he's going to be one of the greatest players of all time. And the rest of us stop and look at Charles and go, what? And Charles said, I'm going to try to get him to come to Auburn. Well, he didn't get him to Auburn, but he was on the money about Dirk. I will.
Years ago, Griffey joined the 500 home run Sr. there watching on Father's Day. At one point, Griffey Jr. was a favorite to break Henry Aaron's home run record. He was the youngest player in history to get to 400 home runs. But injuries slowed him down, and at the time of this home run, 500, Griffey Jr. was the 6th youngest to hit the milestone. Griffey finished with 630 home runs. That's 7th all time. Mike, you have talked about playing golf with Ken Griffey Jr. I know you've always liked him.
Yes, Tony, very, very much. For a guy as great as Ken Griffey Jr., he doesn't brag about himself. He doesn't talk himself up. He just does. Let me just tell you this. You know that sweet swing we just saw at the plate for all those years? Maybe the greatest swing, just the most picturesque swing ever. His golf swing is the same. So when somebody says, hey, who's got the prettiest golf swing you've ever seen? Ken Griffey Jr. is the answer to that, too. And I've lost to him a time or two.
Yeah. That's why I hate him, because he's a good golfer. Happy trails to Walker Buehler. The Dodgers put the right-hander on the 15-day IL with hip inflammation. The right hip had already been an issue before Buehler took a comebacker off his left hip in Tuesday night's game against the Rockies. He stayed in that contest but gave up 7 earned runs. Over 8 starts since returning from Tommy John surgery, Buehler's gone 1-4 with an ERA just under 6. And while he may be hurting, Buehler admitted after Tuesday's struggles that the team had been looking for a way to get him some time for a reset. Manager Dave Roberts said, quote, he's still in search mode. For the mind and some clarity, I think this will be a good thing.
Wow. Hate to hear this. Tony, can we have any starting pitchers? How are we going to have starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, particularly worthy ones, by the time we get to Labor Day? My goodness.
It's a problem. It's a plague in the league at the moment. Let's go to the big finish. Point guard Chelsea Gray made her season debut for the Aces in a win over the Storm. Is that significant?
Chelsea Gray is a 5-time All-Star. Yes, it's significant. The Rangers snapped the Mets' 7-game winning streak. That make you sad?
No, it's not like I had bet that they would win 80 games in a row. I mean, teams lose. That's the way it works. 15-year-old Charlie Woods had the leading score at a qualifying event for the U.S. Junior Amateur next month at Oakland Hills. Are you impressed?
Yes, Tony. And I know, like you, I'm a little reticent to start talking about people's children. But how can you not want to watch Charlie Woods? I'm sorry, I do feel a little reluctant. The Broncos hired former Stanford head coach David Shaw as a senior personnel executive. Your thoughts?
I think it's a good move. He was a very good coach at Stanford. He's known Sean Payton a long time. I think that will work. Last one, Copa America play opens tonight with Messi in Argentina facing Canada at 8 p.m. in Atlanta. Are you interested, Mr. Soccer?
It's 5 p.m. out here. I was going to go hit some balls, play 9 holes, but it's 109. So maybe I'll go watch soccer instead.
Yeah, that's a good move. And don't put a chicken in the middle of the road at 109, please. We're running out of time. We'll try and do better the next time on Tony Kornheiser.
It's only like 11% humidity, though. You know what I'm saying? It's a dry. Get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcast. 80%.
All right, Wilbon, do you agree with the Lakers' decision to hire J.J. Redick?
Ask me next January. Where I sit today, I don't disagree with it. I mean, J.J. Redick, Tony, who you and I have known for a long time, because at the Washington Post, where we were for a long time, you cover a lot of ACC basketball, and Duke and J.J. Redick were always in our sights, and we were around. You listened to him. We watched him grow up and evolve on the national stage, college and in the NBA. He has a brilliant basketball mind, and he's a great communicator, and those two things are necessary. But, Tony, I've had active players in the NBA tell me in the last couple of weeks, as they considered this hire in Los Angeles, they were like, do you know that NBA players don't necessarily even pay attention to the head coach, and their eyes will roll out to something completely different if he loses them on some of these concepts? Do you know that you have to earn their ability to listen to you? It reminds me of stuff that Chuck Daly used to say. And so about, getting them to let you coach them. And so we don't know whether J.J. Redick can do that. We don't know whether they'll let him do that. And he doesn't know. And is it risky? Every hire is risky. Darvin Ham led them to the conference finals. Is J.J. Redick going to improve on that? I don't know.
Well, J.J. Redick can certainly improve on what Darvin Ham led him to this past season, which led to Darvin Ham being thrown out the door because LeBron James and Anthony Davis no longer wanted him around. I have no idea if J.J. Redick can coach. But coaching in the NBA, as you're pointing out, is not like coaching in high school or college. You don't have to go in there with 87 plays. That's not how it works. No, everybody on the NBA level can play basketball. You have to get them comfortable, and you have to get them to max out on their ability. We don't know if he can do that, but I thought when this was mentioned a few weeks ago that it was a really smart idea. And I remember saying on this show that I would rather have him than Danny Hurley because he's of the NBA. Yeah. He's been in the NBA for 15 years. He has probably played against or played with every single person that he's going to coach. And his training and coaching is from Mike Krzyzewski, who coached LeBron in the Olympics. And he's friends with LeBron. This is the most important thing. You can't be a threat to LeBron if you're going to coach the Los Angeles Lakers. Mike, we don't think the Lakers are a very good team. But I actually think that this is a smart hire because of what has happened recently through coaches. And having someone who's close with LeBron tells everybody else on the team, he's not going anywhere. So let's try and listen a little bit.
Well, having a not just solid, but productive, strong relationship with your star player is where it has to start in the NBA on every single team. You can go back to Auerbach and Russell and come through the ages, and you got to have that. And it seems that J.J. Redick is starting there with LeBron James. That's it. We're done.